There we go. Feeling recovered from some fatigue, lack of dietary diversity. Yeah. Having a varied diet, I am a big advocate of. Easier said than done. In practice, just getting in a routine is so easy to do. Simplifies things for the week. So that's always the trade-off. I was walking the dog this morning and I saw this beautiful sunrise this morning. I'll flip over. So this was the view as I was walking the dog this morning. I just had my phone on me and took this picture, and I just stood there for so long looking at it. It was so beautiful. A couple of the time lapses I've done on the channel, I've gotten up early and filmed the sunrise, and it's been great. But someday I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna film a sunrise like this with these orange clouds floating over, and make something really beautiful like that. So today I titled this "Doing a Deep Dive on Snacking," which has been one of the focuses of my week. I was hanging out with Greg on a little productivity stream the other day, and figured out how to do this screen sharing like this, and I got the video working on that. So let's go to that. Oh, and then it's already jumped. We'll go back to the beginning. So this was my Thanksgiving sunset. So I set the camera out by the lake where we were able to stay and filmed this beautiful sunset over the lake. And so I put a poll out on the channel and also in my community, asking people what are your top things that are hard about snacking. To me, I just think a lot about snacking is really the interface between kind of a normal dietary practice and then a fasting-based practice. And pretty almost everybody on my little polls and in the conversation said that the top factors are emotional, dealing with stress and boredom, and that are driving people toward snacking. In the healthcare system, the system is kind of split. Like, you'll run into people, nutrition counseling, dietitians, weight loss specialists try to say, okay, we got to curb the snacking. But then at the same time, you'll run into the same types of people who encourage people to snack more to keep the metabolism going. So we have this real bifurcated counseling going on. It's one of the most frustrating things to run into. Yes. Plan the supper, something healthy and enjoyable. Finally got past the snacking. Hey, celebrate the win. Really happy to hear that. Sometimes I remember I was talking with a patient once. I was explaining my rationale and my process for slowly leaning into a fasting practice, and they were so frustrated. They said, I was just at a dietitian visit who was telling me the exact opposite, and I just said I have to agree. It's one of the most frustrating things for me. Also, like, there's just truth ultimately. Like, a lot of what we're after. We're after truth. What is the truth about the body? What is the truth about, like, the best ways to eat, the best ways to lose weight, the best ways to be healthy? This is what we all want, and it's frustrating to go into a medical establishment, and receive conflicting advice. But, and then on the other side of it, I was like, at least we can have conflicting advice. That's what I was thinking. We don't have such conformity of thought. You want diverse opinions too, and we have enough thought conformity going on. So then I was like, well, I shouldn't be too critical of it. Snacking as a way to handle fatigue is the opposite of what works. For me, if I eat a balanced diet, I can get away with no snacking and good fasting space. I'm very glad to hear that. Yeah, this is can be a bit of a paradox, and I know it's something that people struggle with. Some of the comments I got this week in response to my polling, let's see if I can find the quote. Someone sent in to me, my challenge is staying away from snacking when I'm stressed and meeting deadlines that give me comfort, pleasure, and energy to get through the day when things get difficult. And so snacking for energy is like, it's a real fine line, you know? I mean, certainly they are energy, and you do get energy from them. You know, I think like I did so much hiking this summer, and we packed a big backpack full of, you know, snacks. All right, but like spending a whole day out hiking, also, you know, with kids, and if you're not trying to lose weight, is like a different objective than if you're just trying to dial in on a health practice for losing weight too. This ties in a little bit with our conversation last week about how do you reset your metabolism? How do you charge up the metabolism? I talked about that study last week. I chopped that up in a video I'm gonna put out, just focusing on some of these medical studies that show how aggressive dieting and exercising can slow down our metabolism. And this is, you know, a well-observed fact, and it's how people get into this fasting counseling. Opening up a fasting space is a way to reset that. And so from that specific scenario, if you're in a place where you've been trying to lose weight and you're dieting, actually avoiding snacks can be a way to reset the metabolism and experience more energy. So it's not that a snack in and of itself intrinsically doesn't have energy or takes energy away, but things can be a bit complex in the body, and from a scenario of someone who is stuck in a dieting cycle, it can really help to get out of it. So here's the end of this sunset as we are taking a look at that. Little star comes out. I've never looked into any of this you know, nighttime photography where they get all the stars to light up. I think you need some special filters. You can see it a little bit. But this would be the thought. Okay, sun is setting. This is what I'm trying to see for the video, you know, as the sun is setting. Can we get our eating? Can we be done with that also? Greg and I were chatting on the productivity stream about, or I was chatting at least about some thoughts about how I'll make this video. I have not had so much clarity on it, but you know, everybody dialing in on these emotional sort of factors. The bigger picture, I was saying, is just snacking in our society. This is kind of getting to like this health counseling where people are pushed into snacking to keep the metabolism going. In the video I'm posting, I think I have it scheduled to go on Tuesday, I linked some studies in there that show in the fasting state that this is not what's happening. People are not experiencing this metabolic slowdown. And I always tell people, you can just run the study for yourself, you know? It's like, do you experience this? If you've been struggling with other sort of dieting, can you just lean into these practices and see, do you feel better? It takes a couple weeks getting in, you know, some 16-8 or OMAD, 1 meal a day eating, something like that. You slowly ease into it. Do you feel better? Do you experience progress? snacking is the first step. So sometimes people say to me, like, well, the fasting is a little intense to start with. Like, how do you bring things to an easier level? So just eating 3 meals a day without fasting, but not snacking, that is like a first step sometimes for people, where I say, maybe just lean into that first. I think about patterns that people have eaten throughout history. I mean, you don't have to go very far back till snacking was not a thing. Like, just a generation ago, really. And you think about, then we head back a bit further into like a really an agricultural era, and most people working land, to get food. People don't have backpacks full of food out working on the farm, And as we head back, our species, hunter-gatherers, no convenience stores, no Ziploc bags full of stuff. So it's really the emotional state, I think, to dive into. Are there specific triggers? This would be something that I'd be curious to hear. Are there specific things that are triggers for snacking? Is it's specific stressful situations? It's specific environments? Do you have ways that you typically approach that? I think, Christy, you were saying you've gotten over it. Is there a specific method? Like, how did you accomplish it? Feel free to share if you're inclined. The thing I was thinking about, I was really trying to dial into it. I think that a snacking, more than anything, tell me if you agree, it's a habit. We get into a habit, and a habit of any kind is just hard to break. So if you're in that space, you say, I want to move toward a fasting practice. If you can't get away from a snacking, it's going to be hard to get away from a meal, right? So, and I would always have people do that. I try to help people find the path of least resistance first. So some people, for example, here's a common pattern. Somebody gets up and has breakfast, they head to work, and then, have a snack around 10:30 or something like that. Two different ways to think about it. Someone say, it's so hard to think of this fasting, so hard to think of, get up and don't have breakfast. We're so habituated to that. I say, can you handle, a fasting space just 5 hours or so between breakfast and lunch? Can you get by without that snack? That would be like a first step. An alternative way to move toward it would be to say, just moving that breakfast out. There it can get hard, depending on your work schedule or what a commitment is. But if you are someone who's like having breakfast and then you're having a snack at 10:30, I'd often say, okay, can you just make it to that snack? Then you're keeping that whole fasting space open from the evening up until that snack. You're picking up an extra couple hours where you're running the body off that storage zone. If someone's not up for that, the next step is say have breakfast, but then try to get by without the snacks. If we're counting the total times that people are eating throughout the day, like if you're eating 3 meals, but you have a snack in the morning, a snack in the afternoon, snack after dinner, you say, I'm eating like 6 times. I say, can we just go 6 to 5 and then just slowly work that down? And I say, what if you had results just knocking out snacking and you never were practicing fasting? I say, I would never give anybody trouble about it if they're giving the results that they want. But the core step of the process that I help people try to do is make that jump from 3 to 2, going 3 meals to 2. That's like a foundational move. So maybe you take some amount of time to set the stage for that. It doesn't matter if it's a couple months or whatever, bringing down snacking so you can make that step. And that step, of course, go beyond it if you need it. But for many people, that will lead to like a slow, sustainable weight loss over time. And then if people have the desire, the need, the mental bandwidth, then you can dial in further from there as needed. Okay, there's some of my thoughts of the morning on some snacking. Here, I was writing. I did do a little bit of writing. Not as much as I wanted on this video. Let me just share with you briefly the little bit of the script that I was writing, and then you can give me any feedback on it if people would like. I don't even know if I like this or not, but I jotted this down last night. So picture that. Here, can I just bring it back up? The time lapse is coming in. I say, the past has been a time of continuous consumption. We might even think of it as the era of snacking. But these practices haven't served us well. The sun is setting on that era. Now we know the power and the rejuvenating potential of fasting. We choose to give our body this gift of space without food. We allow it to burn through the excess, cleansing and revitalizing our system, granting us energy, clear thinking, and a renewed spirit as we move toward our health goals. As the sun is setting on this day, we honor that space and our body. Okay, that's what I wrote last night. It's a place to start. I like that. I think that's pretty nice. If you saw that little video I did on coffee, this is the main thing people ask me about coffee. They'll say, like, can I keep some cream and sugar in it? And it's like, absolutely you can. Like, it's like the black coffee is the most aggressive. If a little cream or something in there is a treat and it gets you through a space and you enjoy it and you're accomplishing what you want, like, I'm not a perfectionist. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just have a coffee. Somebody sent me a thing the other day, feedback about one of my videos. They're like, oh, this is like coffee therapy. And I was like, I like it. Adding something like a snack is pushed on us, the idea of rewarding good behavior with a treat versus removing snacking and rewarding yourself with better health is such a great switch of the mindset. I agree. I really like that. Yeah, there's so much marketing. This is the thing, that has changed. I was thinking, the other day, okay, we go back a generation or, 3, whatever, and there's no snacking, and now we have snacking, and we think like about the changes in the world and, media, and we spend so much time, between television and online, and there's just commercials everywhere, and like that's part of it. And now we have the rise of billion-dollar food companies who are buying out all this airtime, and then we're just, flooded with these messages that are crafted to appeal, to us, and very hard to push back against that. Sometimes I've had some, thoughts about, companies only spend money marketing because it works, If they were not getting a return, they would not spend the money. And so, with all the money in the marketing, they basically know, a lot of companies, my understanding is they know about the return that they're going to get, they're going to see so many sales for so many, ad dollars. I'm not a marketing person, But then it gets kind of interesting to think about like our own personal selves, like on the individual level, we like to think and believe, okay, we have free will. We can make our own choices. And then we can, right? But then it's like, but in the big picture, some company spends a certain amount of money on advertising dollars. They know that people are going to make certain decisions. And something to think about. So there's obviously a lot of power in advertising and money pushing these things on us. How do we exactly push back against that? How do we make sure that we're making decisions that are in our own best interest and not just part of an agenda of people selling products that are leading to so much dishealth? So yeah, I agree. It is pushed on us. Changing that mindset. Not rewarding us with a treat, reward. That's something I was talking about in a different video, like defining our own success, right? Defining, like, what is a reward for us, you know? Like if we decide for our own selves, like, well, I don't really find it rewarding to eat this stuff. Like if we have to change our thinking. My reward is I get to do a practice of giving space of healing to my body. Like it is a better reward. Doesn't necessarily feel better right in the moment when you are not used to it. I will say once you really get in a groove with a fasting space, it definitely can come to feel very good, very healthy, very calm, very satisfying. This is fasting contentment. And that's where I want people to get in a slow, thoughtful, gentle space so that you are never stressed about it. I always want fasting to be anti-stressful. I want it to be like the amount of it that is beneficial to someone's life, not more intense than it needs to be, but enough to help someone move and accomplish what they're setting out to do. It's hot coffee. I did some other writing this week. Let's find that one. That is kind of in this line with advertising and getting pushed into snacking, and then like kind of this line between it. This one I dictated. Sometimes I'm recovering a little bit. I got, in my medical practice, it's like I do so much typing, and I got really bad carpal tunnel for a long time there. So much clicking, in the primary care. We just click, so many things. So then I'm ambidextrous now with a mouse, because every other day I would do the mouse with the other hand to try to keep the carpal tunnel from flaring up. So then I started dictating. I like dictating all of the stuff. I don't know, it doesn't feel as good to read it. This is why a lot of the last videos, if you watch on the channel, I never did any kind of video historically. And the first couple videos on this channel, I sat on the camera. I watched these last night, and I told the story of how I first saw someone healing from fasting. I like it, but I was like, oh, I can see now I'm like so nervous. And then I'm like a little less nervous. But then I was like trying to figure out, how do people crank out all these videos? And so I got a teleprompter, little mini teleprompter that I put on the camera. And so I wrote out scripts, like not this last summer, but 2 summers ago. I spent so much time writing out these scripts of thoughts on fasting. And so if you watch the series, Finding Your Weight Loss Path, those are all scripts that I put on a teleprompter. And I really love the content of those videos, but me sitting there reading off a teleprompter was not good. It was kind of like, so I watched them again. I was like, oh, I wish I could do it over. I suppose I could, but I like just kind of getting in a state. So sitting here, all that is to say, sitting here and just try to read off this text, doesn't feel good. Let's see, what did I even say? I titled this Truth in Medicine. This is what I was saying earlier on the stream, was like talking about you go into a nutrition provider and one person says one thing and one person says something else, and then that's tough. We have this conflict. Part of it is like nutrition, right? And what we're eating and how we're eating. It's such a fundamental part of health. It really is the foundation of health. And to be sitting here in this multi-trillion-dollar healthcare system, this is what is so wild about it, is like trillions of dollars. And then the research infrastructure, hundreds of billions of dollars. You know, just at the university where I was at is a multi-billion-dollar operation, the research. And nobody can understand basic things like, you know, if I have a fasting interval, is that hurting me or helping me? You know, is it slowing down my metabolism or is it not? And so I was, you know, I have, for the research study that I did, I reviewed hundreds of clinical studies on fasting. I have this drive full of these studies, and I'm sure I don't, you know, have every study, but I was reviewing studies yesterday to link onto this video that I'm posting next week on the metabolism. And I was like, okay, so we have lots of clinical studies that show the metabolism is getting slowed down with our dieting practices. Interestingly, I found a few old studies that had people doing extended fasting, like 3 weeks, which is not something that I advocate. And as you head way out on fasting, okay, the body will shift back into slowing into ultra-conservative mode again. But then also we have studies of people who are fasting where they haven't been dieting beforehand, and then they're put onto a fasting diet, and then, you know, 16-8 or 1 meal a day eating, and then these people either have no metabolic slowdown or some increase, which looks like an effect that lasts out for 7 to 10 days before we start transitioning into that, you know, slower phase. So there's this window where you can practice fasting and then have it, that's that reset sort of effect. And that's what I was thinking as I was reviewing these studies, is it's amazing, like, that we don't have a study, even one study that I could ever find that will just track a human being through this process. Like, wouldn't it be fascinating to design a study? You put people on the standard diet where we're calorie restricting them without fasting, and we watch their metabolism slow down. And then, you know, we do that for, say, like a month or 3, you know, and then we switch them, and then we could watch that effect from that point, because that's where I cannot find a study. I can't find any study that shows people who are already metabolically slowed from dieting who are then switched on. We have the studies on either side that show the slowdown, and then that show that the fasting doesn't do that. But it would really be incredible to have a study, you know, that shows that effect, because this is where so many people are at. And that's what's wild to me is, okay, we got this $1 trillion system. That might be one of the fundamental studies that could really benefit our society. This is what I was thinking. But the point that I have come to is just to say, you know, I've seen that so many times, people who are stuck in that place. We implement these fasting practices, people feel better, more energy, and so this is what happens. And I just tell people, we don't need a gigantic randomized controlled trial. You can just try it and see, does it help you? Does it work in your life? So I was thinking about, okay, this talking I was doing, Truth in Medicine, Think about all the places where the research dollars do go, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars into new cancer drugs. Whatever the numbers are, hundreds of millions of dollars into injection, diet drugs. And then all the money to push and advertise those. And I think about so many areas, like even orthopedic surgery, like how many people need joint replacements and all these sorts of things. That is all downstream of poor metabolic health and weight and diabetes. And so fasting to me is getting upstream of all of that, right? If we can get upstream of all of the metabolic disease, then that would be a core truth to explore. The heart of healthcare to me is like helping people to be healthy and avoid disease in the first place. So this is why I'm focusing here on the fasting, because to me, that's the heart of it. When I talk about fasting and healthy eating, two sides of the same coin. It's the same thing to me. I'm not an advocate of fast and eat junk. No, fasting and eating the healthiest food that you can. And that's the core health practice. You get the diet in the right place, use the amount of fasting space that you need. And then from that place, if you have a mindset and ability to do it, adding in the exercise, on top of it is, of course, so good. Exercise is so important for being strong and functional. And those are my key three things: food, fitness, fasting. How are people doing? We said in the chat, one of these streams at the start of the month, try to win December. Do you feel like you're on course for that? I know some people sent in, they said, winning December would mean just staying stable through December. And I love that. For someone else, winning might look like making a small bit of progress and still enjoying every good time with friends and family over holidays. What does winning December look like for you? Do you think you're on track? Are you gearing up for 2025? I've been thinking a lot about, 2025 just around the corner. How do we make 2025 just the best health year? I'm excited to have gotten this live thing off the ground. I thought about doing it for quite a long time. And it was hard to do, but I feel like we're getting a groove with it. Give any feedback. If you have thoughts, are there suggestions or feedback, you can put them here in the chat. You can always drop me a note. Also, put my email in here. Let's see. There we go. Send me a note also, Dr. Z at simplefasting.com. Happy to chat with you through the week. Winning would be maintaining energy. I'm back in the gym as of last week after a few months. Excellent. Yeah, I'm looking forward really to staying active over the winter. I did the marathon earlier in the fall here last month. Last winter, I tried to get psyched up for running in the winter. It's hard to do. I think my son is going to be running with a group of high school kids over the winter. I don't know. Last winter, I got a bike trainer, and so I've been in my basement hitting the bike. I might psych myself up to try to train for a century ride on the bike in the spring, and that might keep me going on the bike over the winter. Hit that, I think in late March. So a win for me personally, just, staying after it with the healthy eating through the holidays, and then staying active and staying in a good groove. I find when I keep the exercise going, it really just keeps everything else going. My mental health personally, always better. Winter can get a little discouraging for me. I think with the lack of the sunlight is what gets to me. Riding the bike right now, that is solid. I like to do that. I get on the bike. If there's some media that I want to consume in a day, I've really tried to limit my consuming of media. I used to get into watching podcasts and so much, and I think part of it, I was like, I watch all these things, but I'm not getting my thoughts out. I was like, I need to just focus on my channel and sharing thoughts. So I was like, if there's something I'm going to watch in the day, I try to schedule that for when I'm on the bike or something like that. Yeah, if I could set a personal goal for 2025, I want to keep this going, the live. I would, of course, love it if, I don't know how people do things like this, build out an audience, but I'm very grateful for all of you that are here. I think this is fun. I always think, it's also fine to me if it doesn't grow. I'm not going to feel good or bad about it. There's beauty in having things small and simple. I was thinking about this the other day. Why do things always have to grow and get bigger? They don't. Small is beautiful. I definitely believe that. I do really feel like a fasting practice has so much potential to help people. So that's why I'm doing this. I do want to just share it. So of course, that's the side of it. If it's growing, if it's helping people, I would like that. So I guess the better goal is just to show up. I'm just going to show up and do it. And whatever happens is what happens. And if there's specific ways that you would say, oh, this could be more helpful to you, suggestions, of course, I'm very open to it. If you think that it is helpful, of course, feel free to share it and tell people to tune in. And I'd just like to be helpful. So I think I'll do another. I liked the productivity stream. This is the sides of fasting. Okay, fasting can just be about being. It doesn't have. That's one of the things I love about it. It can just be anti-stressful. Can just be open space. Doesn't have to be anything about pressure. On the other side of it, for me personally, a fasting space, very productive. It's really a space to dial in, get a lot of stuff done. I think I'll probably do that again this week. Just have some open space where we can practice fasting together. This is what I love about the live format. Practice fasting together, create, positive vibes. doing healthcare together. This is something that I really want to experience. Like, not that this is like healthcare, this is like pre-healthcare. Like, to me, it's not like going to a clinic, you know? One of the things I was thinking about I remember sitting there in my clinic, and one of the things that kept getting to me was like, okay, I'm always seeing, I mean, it's very positive, right? Having a one-on-one relationship, a doctor and a patient, I terrifically value that relationship. That's why it was so very hard for me to leave my practice. You know, I have so many patients that I have known over a decade, and it was very hard. But I was like, there should be a way with, you know, technology and these things to have experiences that are more people that we can have like group shared experiences of health, which is something that is, I don't know, you can kind of get that at a gym, you know, shared health experiences. But then to create a shared fasting experience, to me, just seems cool. So so we'll dive into that. We'll do some fasting productivity. We'll see if that's a helpful space. I just had that idea last week, so I might run with that a little bit. It's that space, to me, as I'm just thinking about it now, very interesting. Doing versus being. A space that is open. Get stuff done. Do, but also be. All right, those are my thoughts of the day. Very nice to have you all here. I wish you the very best, and we'll catch you down the road.